Chapter 72. His voice was low and deep, like the wind messing up the strings of a zither. Every syllable fell gently in the rain, splashing waves on the ground. Chu Luiyue was dazed for a moment. It seemed that he had been waiting for her for too long. The cold rain fell on her face. She shivered and finally came back to her senses. "Why are you here?" She bought this house privately and almost no one knew about it. How did Rong Xiu know and even wait for her here? Rong Xiu's eyes turned slightly and fell on the drop of rain on her face. Then, he bent down slightly and reached out his hand. "Hey, don't move." Chu Luiyue instinctively tried to stop him, but when she heard this low voice, she unconsciously withdrew her hand. His hand was slender and white, with distinct joints. His fingers were very soft and he gently wiped the rain off her face. He was very close to her. Chu Luiyue could even clearly see his long black eyelashes trembling slightly. His expression was very serious, as if this was a very important matter. Chu Luiyue did not know why, but she also held her breath. At this moment, time seemed to be extraordinarily long. After a long time, Rong Xiu suddenly chuckled. "Breathe." Chu Luiyue responded with an "oh," subconsciously, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. His warm breath fell on her cheeks, as if a spark had fallen and burned quickly. Rong Xiu paused and his eyes darkened. "Are you done?" Chu Luiyue asked. "Wasn't it just a little rain? Did he need to wipe it for so long?" Rong Xiu quietly withdrew his hand. His fingers seemed to unintentionally curl slightly and brushed past her lips. It flashed by. Chu Luiyue's heart skipped a beat and suddenly felt a little awkward. She looked up at Rong Xiu, but saw that he had completely withdrawn his hand, as if he did not notice anything wrong. He looked calm. Probably not on purpose, but why did he have to wipe her face every time they met? Muttered Chu Luiyue in her heart. She suppressed the ripples in her heart and asked again, "What's the matter? Why are you here?" Rong Xiu smiled. He held Chu Luiyue's hand and walked back. "We'll talk about it when we get home." Chu Luiyue lowered his head to take a look, and the corner of his mouth twitched. "Go home?" That was her home, not his. What the hell was with that matter-of-fact tone? "Your Highness, what are you doing?" Although there was no one around, it wasn't appropriate for them to do so, right? "I'm cold," Rong Xiu said calmly. He was so confident that Chu Luiyue couldn't think of anything to refute him. Rong Xiu pulled her closer. Chu Luiyue raised his eyebrows. "Your Highness, you won't feel warm like this." Rong Xiu nodded. "Yes, but I won't get wet like this." Chu Luiyue was stunned. She turned her eyes and saw that his cloak was slightly wet. She suddenly remembered that when Rong Xiu held the umbrella for her, the umbrella was leaning towards her. For the sake of the umbrella, Chu Luiyue didn't intend to pursue the matter. The two of them walked silently to the door together. Chu Luiyue struggled for a while, and Rong Xiu naturally let go of her hand. Chu Luiyue opened the door and walked in. After taking 2 steps, he suddenly recalled something and turned around to take a look. Rong Xiu was still standing outside the door, and he didn't have the slightest intention to leave. Chu Luiyue secretly gritted her teeth. "Your Highness, do you want to sit in my humble house for a while?" Rong Xiu's thin lips curved slightly. "Since you is so kind, it would be impolite for me to refuse." As he spoke, he walked straight in. Chu Luiyue, why didn't she see before that Rong Xiu was so shameless? Chu Luiyue had only been to this house once when she bought it. At that time, this place was still relatively dirty and messy. Now that it had been renovated, it looked much more elegant and clean. Chu Luiyue invited Rong Xiu to sit while she brewed a pot of ginger tea. "My humble house is simple and crude, and I don't have anything to entertain your Highness." After serving the tea, Chu Luiyue stopped busying herself and sat opposite Rong Xiu. "This cup of ginger tea is enough." Rong Xiu didn't seem to mind. He poured 2 cups of tea, handed one to Chu Luiyue, and kept the other for himself. He took a sip. The white steam lingered around him, and his eyebrows relaxed. His words and actions didn't have the air of a prince at all. Instead, he seemed to be quite satisfied. Chu Luiyue found it strange. This ginger tea was very common and its smell was a little pungent. Most aristocratic families despised it, but he drank it so leisurely. Could it be that he had been living a poor life on Mingyue Tianshan for the past few years? It seems that your highness didn't have a good life in the past, Chu Luiyue said deliberately. Are you used to drinking ginger tea? I'm not used to drinking ginger tea. Rong Xiu smiled. But this is brewed by you. It's very rare. I'm used to it even if I'm not used to it. I'm used to it even if I'm not used to it. Rong Xiu's tone was as calm as usual, but his words were a little ambiguous. Chu Luiyue didn't know what to say for a moment and pursed her lips. If she still couldn't guess Rong Xiu's feelings for her, then she was really stupid. It was a coincidence that he helped her once, but what about twice? Or 3 times? However, she didn't understand what Rong Xiu saw in her. Appearance? When they first met, she was sallow and emaciated. She definitely wasn't good-looking. Talent? She had only been admitted to Tianlu Academy today. Identity? She was the ex-fiancée abandoned by the crown prince and the first young mistress despised by the Chu family. Ordinary people couldn't wait to avoid her, let alone the respected Prince Li. Your Highness, let's get straight to the point. Just say what you want to say. Chu Luiyue took a deep breath and straightened her back. She looked at Rong Xiu seriously. Why are you here today? Or rather, what do you want from me? Although I've made a comeback, I'm alone and weak. There's nothing I can do to help you. You're just wasting your time and energy on me. Rong Xiu turned the teacup in his hand. He lowered his eyes and muttered to himself for a moment before looking up at her. The two of them looked at each other. Countless lights flickered in Rong Xiu's eyes. In the end, it reflected the young girl's face. I'm here today to celebrate your birthday. Chu Luiyue was stunned. Rong Xiu suddenly took out a wooden box. A faint fragrance spread out. It was actually an extremely exquisite agarwood box. This is a gift for you. Chu Luiyue took it hesitantly. She moved her fingers and opened the box. A peach blossom hairpin lay there quietly. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 73. The hairpin was carved from black wood. There were a few lifelike peach blossoms on it, and even the stamens were very delicate. The most eye-catching thing was that there were a few crystal-clear snowflakes falling from the peach blossoms. It was midsummer now, so there was no snow. Chu Luiyue took a closer look and was surprised to find that the snowflakes were carved from an extremely precious moonstone. The moonstone was an extremely rare type of jade. It was clear and bright under the sun, and in the dark night, it would flow with a gentle light like moonlight. Chu Luiyue was extremely surprised. Although Rong Xiu was the 7th prince of Country Yaochen was nothing in the entire Black Tortoise mainland. If it was her previous life, it would not be difficult for her to obtain the moonstone as the destined princess of the Tianling dynasty. However, to the people of Country Yaochen, this was definitely a rare treasure. How did Rong Xiu get this? Moreover, he gave her such an expensive gift. Chu Luiyue closed the box and handed it over. Your Highness, this gift is too expensive. I can't accept it. Rong Xiu looked at her steadily. Today is the day of your hairpin ceremony. According to the rules, the elders of the family should hold the ceremony and add a hairpin to your hairpin. Chu Luiyue was silent. Rong Xiu was right. For the women of Black Tortoise mainland, the hairpin ceremony was a very important day. This was because it meant that the woman had become an adult and could get married. Even an ordinary family would specially hire someone to add a hairpin to their daughter's hairpin. As for the daughters of aristocratic families, it was naturally even more grand. During her hairpin ceremony in her previous life, all the subordinate countries specially went to congratulate her. The banquet lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. At that time, it was extremely honorable. After her rebirth, she had been planning how to get out of her predicament and take revenge. She did not take these things to heart at all. Today was her hairpin ceremony, but she had severed ties with the Chu family. Her only relative, Chu Ning, was also in the palace and had yet to return. If Rong Xiu didn't come, she would have just spent the day like this. Yet, he had come, and had even brought such a great gift. Your Highness, Lu Yu appreciates your kindness, but I really can't accept this. If you don't accept it today, I'll come back tomorrow. Rong Xiu did not seem to care about her rejection, thin lips slightly. As long as you don't accept it, I'll come another day. Chu Luyue. Looking at Rong Xiu's nonchalant expression, Chu Luyue was sure that he would definitely do what he said. She gritted her teeth. Your Highness, have I ever told you that you are very thick-skinned? Rong Xiu leaned against the chair and smiled faintly. I've just returned to the imperial capital and have been recuperating in my residence. I've never heard of such words. Crack. Chu Luyue opened the box again and pointed at the peach blossom hairpin. Your Highness, peach blossoms bloom in spring. Why is there snow on the peach blossom hairpin that you gave me? Peach blossoms can bloom in winter. How is that possible? Have you seen it before? Chu Luyue sneered in her heart. Rong Xiu really could say anything. However, Rong Xiu suddenly raised his eyes and looked at her deeply. This gaze reminded Chu Luyue of the first time she saw him standing in the rain. He also looked at her with such a gaze. She couldn't guess what he was thinking. She even felt that he was looking at someone else through her. I've seen it before. He closed his eyes and hid the ripples in his eyes. He sighed softly and said in a low voice. I've seen it before. The sky is filled with snow, and the peach blossoms are dazzling. Digression. So, how long has Master Xiu been waiting? Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 74. Chu Luyue didn't know how to describe Rong Xiu at this moment. He seemed to be reminiscing about the scenery he described, but it was more like he was thinking about someone. Where could one see peach blossoms in winter? And who was the person that he couldn't forget? No matter what, it was obviously very important to him. Chu Luyue hesitated for a moment, but finally accepted the peach blossom hairpin. Then, thank you very much, Your Highness. Rong Xiu rested his chin on one hand, looking leisurely. The warm light shone on his face, making his already noble appearance even more outstanding. Chu Luyue glanced outside the door. The rain was getting heavier and heavier, with no signs of stopping. She asked, Your Highness, do the people in your residence know that you're here? Now that it's raining so heavily, they should come to pick you up later, right? Although he had an umbrella, it was a bit too much to let the dignified Prince Li go back in the rain. Especially when the other party had just given her a big gift. Rong Xiu glanced at her with a faint smile. You don't want to see me so much that you're in a hurry to drive me back? Chu Luyue said sternly, How is that possible? It's my honor to have you here. But this place is really shabby, it can't be compared to Prince Li's residence. I think this place is not bad. Rong Xiu knocked on the table. Besides, I've been weak recently and can't stand the cold. If the rain continues, I'm afraid I'll have to stay here for the night. Chu Luyue picked up the teacup, intending to take a sip of tea, and almost dropped the cup in her hand. Her eyes widened in shock. You want to stay here for the night? How can that be? It was also her first day staying here. Rong Xiu is not related to me in any way, so why is he sleeping here? Your courtyard looks quite big. Don't tell me you don't even have a guest room? Rong Xiu seemed a little surprised. Chu Luyue was speechless. There were many rooms in this house, but she had bought this house for peace and quiet, so she only had 2 bedrooms prepared. One belonged to Chu Ning, and the other belonged to her. There was no place for him. Chu Luyue immediately informed Rong Xiu of the situation. Your Highness, it's not that I want to chase you away, but I really can't make room for you. My father will be back later today. Didn't your father enter the palace to meet the emperor? I heard that imperial fathers seemed to be very happy and said that he would talk to Lord Chu Ning all night. Chu Luyue glanced at Rong Xiu warily. It wasn't strange for him to know about this. Eunuch Min had already said at the Chu clan's entrance that anyone who wanted to know could find out by asking around. Moreover, as a prince, he was very clear about what was going on in the palace. This Prince Li was not as gentle and harmless as he looked on the surface. Father will be back when we're done talking tonight. As his daughter, I can't not even leave a place for my father. Rong Xiu nodded in agreement. That's right. As a junior, I shouldn't disturb my elders. Before Chu Luyue could heave a sigh of relief, he continued. Since that's the case, then I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you. Chu Luwei was about to slam the table and stand up when she saw Rong Xiu coughing so hard that it seemed as though he would faint at any moment. This guy had made up his mind to stay here. Chu Luwei clenched and unclenched her fists, then clenched them again. Finally, she stood up abruptly. This humble house is simple and crude. The windows are broken and the roof is old. If the wind or rain gets in, and it hurts your body, please bear with it. Rong Xiu finally stopped coughing. Thank you. His skin was as thick as the city walls. What gentle as jade. What modest gentleman. It was all a facade. He was clearly an extremely shameless lecher. Chu Luwei cursed in her heart as she tidied up the bed. Swoosh. She shook the quilt fiercely. Bang. She slammed the window shut. Bang bang bang. She threw the pillow heavily with both hands. Although the pillow is made of wood, it can't withstand such tossing. Rong Xiu couldn't help but remind her as his eyelids twitched. Chu Luwei grinned. Don't worry, this thing is very sturdy. I'm just worried that you won't be able to sleep well. Rong Xiu tactfully shut his mouth. However, looking at her arrogant and indignant expression, the corners of his lips curled up again. All right, I've tidied up everything. You can rest here by yourself. Chu Luwei finished tidying up and was about to leave. Rong Xiu stepped forward and stopped her. Where are you going? Chu Luwei looked at him strangely. I'll leave this place to you. Naturally, I'll go somewhere else. Rong Xiu shook his head. I have nightmares easily at night. I can't be without people. Chu Luwei slowly widened her eyes. So, plop. A white figure suddenly broke through the window and entered. It fell to the ground. The two of them looked over at the same time. Chu Luwei was pleasantly surprised. Shue Shue. Why are you here? Shue Shue lay on the ground. Its originally fluffy and soft fur was now wet from the rain. It looked thinner than before. When it heard Chu Luwei's voice, it wanted to turn around and get up, but a cold gaze nailed it to the ground. It didn't dare to move and pretended that it had accidentally fallen in. Chu Luwei looked back at Rong Xiu gloatingly. Since Shue Shue is here, why don't you just let it accompany you? Shue Shue is so smart. It can definitely take good care of His Highness, don't you think so? Rong Xiu looked at Shue Shue and said in a cold voice. Yes. Shue Shue shuddered. The next moment, it shook off the rain on its body. At the same time, an icy blue flame quickly burned its body, evaporating the remaining rain. In the blink of an eye, it returned to its usual tall and clean appearance. Then, it quickly rushed to Rong Xiu with an obedient look. Chu Luwei's gloominess was swept away. She turned around and left with light footsteps. In the room, the man and beast fell into an awkward silence again. You came at the right time this time, huh? You can get a better reading experience from the Love Network. Chapter 75. Chu Luwei was not really angry when she gave the bedroom to Rong Xiu. Rong Xiu had helped her a few times, so she owed him a favor. She did not mind letting him stay for a day. After walking out of the bedroom, she thought for a while and walked toward the study room. There was actually a bed in the study room, but Chu Luwei did not plan to sleep. Today, she wanted to break through that layer of window paper that hadn't been broken yet and become a true martial artist. Chu Luwei closed the door and windows, sat cross-legged on the bed, and slowly closed her eyes. This body had the Daijing Yuan meridian, so her cultivation speed was many times faster than ordinary cultivators. Therefore, although Chu Luwei had just recovered her Yuan meridian, the heaven and earth force that she had absorbed was already very abundant. Now that she had been admitted to Tianlu Academy, she naturally did not need to hide the fact that her Yuan meridian had recovered. The room was very quiet. Soon, the heaven and earth force started to surge toward Chu Luwei's body. She would break through to become a martial artist tonight. This rainy night was destined to not be peaceful. At the Lu family, did Chu Luwei really defeat Min Min in the assessment? After the midterm assessment, the academy had a 3-day break. Lu Fian had just returned to the Lu family when she was pulled into the study room to ask about what had happened in the academy. Lu Fian pursed her lips. It's true. The Lu family members looked at each other. Chu Luiwei really turned from a good-for-nothing to a genius? When they first heard the news, they did not believe it. Even the celestial physician could not cure that damaged Yuan meridian. How could Chu Luiwei be cured? However, now it seemed that they had to believe it even if they did not want to. I think that Chu Luiwei is very strange. She must have used some tricks to defeat Minmin. This person is ruthless. Not only did she defeat Minmin, but she also disfigured her. Minmin hates her to death now. The adults were all taken aback. When they asked about the ins and outs of the matter, they all shook their heads. This Chu Luiwei has completely offended the Chu family. She is different from before. In addition, Chu Ning is the commander of the Imperial Guards, so she is even more arrogant now. However, it will not be easy for them to establish themselves in the Imperial City. The Chu family has sent a letter. Second Elder, what do you think? Although we are not on good terms with the Chu family, Minmin still has the blood of the Lu family in her. Besides, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. There is no need to offend the Chu family at this time. Sir, at the Gu family, although it was the holiday as usual, no one in the Gu clan cared about this matter. They were also discussing how to treat the Chu clan. Chu Ning's current status is different after all. If we don't give him face, wouldn't it be the same as not giving His Majesty face? Now that the Chu clan is gradually declining, there is no need to be so afraid. But they are Chus very strong. I. Them. He. In that case we are on the Chu family's side. At the Si family, not long after Si Ting and Si Yang returned, they were summoned by Si Yi. There was no one else in the room except for the three of them. What do you think of Chu Luiwei? Si Yi asked straightforwardly. Si Yang said excitedly. Master, Chu Luiwei is really powerful. She is only slightly less talented than elder brother. The Chu family must have been blind all these years. Si Yi put his hands behind his back. Chu Luiwei has cut ties with the Chu family today. What? Si Yang was shocked. But when he thought of how the Chu family treated her, he felt that she did not do anything wrong. The Chu family treated her so badly, so it is understandable that she cut ties with them. She is really bold. Si Ting, who had been silent, finally looked at Si Yi. Master, what is your choice? Si Yi looked at him approvingly. Such a sharp and intelligent mind was truly a person who could take on great responsibilities. The Chu family. In fact, I am not the only one. Everyone in the capital will make the same choice. The Chu family. I am afraid they will not give her the time and opportunity to grow. Si Ting shook his head. I want you to choose Chu Luiwei. Si Yi was very surprised. But Si Ting was silent for a moment. She is much more talented than I am. Also, she will not give the Chu family any chance. Digression. Today at 5:00 p.m. La. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 76. The rain was still falling. In the study, Chu Luiwei held her breath and focused, quickly absorbing the heaven and earth force around her. Time passed by slowly. Chu Luiwei gradually realized that something was wrong. The earth force entered her body and flowed along her Yuan meridian to her dantian. It did not form a core of essence but was absorbed into the small lake instead. To become a true martial artist, one must condense a core of essence. To Chu Luiwei, the earth force in her body was abundant, and forming a core of essence was a simple matter. But after such a long time, the earth force was absorbed into her body but could not be condensed. After entering the lake, the earth force seemed to have been swallowed and disappeared without a trace. There was not even a trace of a ripple. Gradually, Chu Luiwei realized that the situation was serious. If this continued, wouldn't she never be able to condense a core of essence and become a martial artist? But the core of essence was very important to a martial artist. Especially after breaking through to rank 4, the core of essence was even more important to a cultivator. If she did not have a core of essence, she would not be a true martial artist, and her strength would be greatly limited. Chu Luiwei tried to keep the earth force and condense it, but she could not do it at all. The power of this lake directly covered my power. Chu Liwei opened her eyes and muttered softly. With her current strength, it was impossible for her to fight against the lake in her body. It was too troublesome. What exactly was that lake? Chu Liwei was sure that this lake would not cause any fatal harm to her. If she was in danger, this lake would even release its power to save her. But if she did not figure out what it was, wouldn't she be stuck here forever? Chu Liwei looked at her hand. She clearly remembered that when she was reborn and woke up, a strange pattern had appeared on her palm. After that, the pattern disappeared, and a transparent broken page appeared in her dantian. Finally, the page turned into a lake and floated quietly. The last time this lake moved was when she healed her Yuan meridian. Chu Liwei did not pay much attention to it at first, but she did not expect this thing to stop her from condensing a core of essence. After that, Chu Liwei unwillingly tried a few more times, but it all ended in failure. The sound of rain outside the window made her feel irritated. What exactly is this broken thing? The moment she said that, Chu Liwei immediately felt her dantian vibrate. A terrifying force burst out from the lake. Chu Liue's body trembled, and the blood in her chest and abdomen. She immediately stabilized her body and looked at her danen. She was immediately stunned by what she saw. The lake, which was originally floating in the air, rapidly changed its shape and finally turned back into a transparent book page. It was the page that Chu Liwei had seen before. But this time, red flowing, red flowing, red. Chu Liue's heart was in her throat. What does this sudden change mean? On the transparent page, the red stream of light actually gradually condensed into a word? Chu Liwei hurriedly focused and took a closer look. And the second word also appeared at this time. This time, Chu Liwei finally saw the words clearly. Stupid! Chu Liwei. She did not expect that the first word that appeared on this mysterious transparent page would be, "Are you scolding me?" Chu Liwei asked in disbelief. The page trembled slightly, and the words on it quickly disappeared. But the shock in Chu Liue's heart did not dissipate. After the previous incident, she had secretly guessed that this transparent page should be a broken treasure. As for what it was, she was not sure. But now, it seemed that it had its own consciousness. Who are you? Chu Liwei suppressed the shock in her heart and asked coldly. With such a thing in her dantian, it was really unsettling. Soon, another line of words appeared on the page. The core of essence condenses the force of heaven and earth, overflowing with a ladle. Chu Liwei was stunned. Did this mean that the core of essence could condense too little force of heaven and earth? But wasn't this normal? There were countless cultivators in the world. If the core of essence could condense the force of heaven and earth, wouldn't it be a mess? Moreover, as the cultivator's level increased, the core of essence would also gradually become stronger. It could also contain more force of heaven and earth. This was not something that could be done overnight. As if guessing her thoughts, the line of words disappeared and a new line appeared. Stupid beyond belief. Chu Liwei. This was the first time she had been scolded like this in both her previous and current life. Before she could say anything, the line of words had completely disappeared. Even the pages scattered and formed a lake. It seemed that the other party would ignore her. Chu Liwei stared at the floating lake and fell into deep thought. What was the meaning of that sentence? The core of essence overflowed with a ladle. Could it be that it was saying that it could contain more force of heaven and earth? Thinking of this, Chu Liue's heart suddenly moved. She began to try to feel the power contained in the lake. Vast and ethereal. Chu Liwei held her breath and carefully tried to guide the power within. A ripple appeared on the surface of the lake. Boom! In an instant, a terrifying power flew out from the lake and surged towards Chu Liue's limbs and bones. Chu Liwei suddenly opened her eyes and pointed forward. Bang! The door suddenly shattered. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 77. Chu Liwei stared blankly at the broken door and didn't regain her senses for a while. Just now, didn't she just cause a ripple on the lake? How could she release such a tyrannical force? At this moment, a figure rushed in from outside the door. Hearing this, Chu Luiwei instinctively looked up and saw that it was Rong Xiu. He obviously rushed over after hearing the sound of the broken door. Chu Luiwei suddenly had a thought. The place where he was resting was actually quite a distance away from here. How did he rush over so quickly? Rong Xiu's gaze quickly swept across the door, and he walked in with big strides. How are you? What happened just now? Actually, the moment he came in, he realized that Chu Luiwei was fine and heaved a sigh of relief, but he still wasn't completely at ease. Chu Luiwei's heart skipped a beat. His usually lazy voice actually had a trace of nervousness in it. Upon closer inspection, there was also an imperceptible trace of worry between his brows. This was extremely rare for Rong Xiu, who didn't show his emotions on his face. Chu Luiwei shook her head. I'm fine. I was just trying to condense a pearl of essence just now and there was an accident, so I didn't control my strength well. Really? Rong Xiu looked at her suspiciously. How could condensing a pearl of essence cause such a huge commotion? Chu Luiwei also felt that this statement was ridiculous. Even a rank 3 warrior might not be able to release that kind of power. But this was the truth. She rubbed her brows helplessly. I'm really fine. Your Highness, don't worry. At this moment, Shui rushed in from outside and jumped in front of Chu Luiwei. It sniffed left and right as though it was afraid that something was wrong with Chu Luiwei. Chu Luiwei's chin was tickled by the fur on its head and couldn't help but laugh. All right. Shui, I'm fine. I'm not injured. Shui blinked and seeing that she was indeed fine, it rubbed against her neck as though it was acting coquettishly. Rong Xiu glanced at Shui. Shui, who was originally very happy, immediately became well-behaved. It growled and obediently took a step back and lay on the ground. Chu Luiwei rubbed its head and looked at Rong Xiu and asked curiously, Your Highness, why are you here so fast? Shui's was a high-level magical beast and was a lion species. It should have heard the commotion and it was still lagged behind Xiu. Could it be that you were nearby? Rong Xiu noticed that her gaze toward him gradually became a little strange. He could not help but laugh out of anger as he pinched her face. Shui you this? I just couldn't sleep, so I went for a walk and came over when I heard the noise. Chu Luiwei pulled his hand away, but she didn't really believe him. Such a coincidence? Moreover, even if he was just taking a walk nearby, she could still clearly remember how fast he was when he came over. This, frail, princely really hid his strength well? Chu Luiwei didn't continue asking. Your Highness, it was just a false alarm. You should go back and rest. Rong Xiu looked meaningfully at the broken door. If I leave, are you sure you won't tear this place down? Chu Luiwei, there was really no way to explain this. You can continue to condense the core of essence. I won't disturb you here. With that, Rong Xiu sat down on a chair in the corner of the room. He even took out a book and started reading, as though he didn't intend to leave. Chu Luiwei was speechless for a while. It was obvious that she couldn't win against this person in terms of shamelessness. So be it. That lake was in her dantian and outsiders wouldn't be able to detect it. At most, they would only be able to feel the power that erupted from it. And that could be explained by the core of essence. Wait a minute. Chu Luiwei had a flash of inspiration and finally understood the meaning of that sentence. It meant using it as the core of essence? Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 78. After figuring this out, Chu Luiwei was suddenly enlightened. Earlier on, she had already proven that she was able to manipulate the energy within the lake. That was actually the same effect as the Pearl of Essence. Furthermore, the force that this lake could contain was clearly many times stronger than the Pearl of Essence. She had only stirred up a small ripple and it had already exploded such a strong force. If she were to use all her strength, then she would definitely be able to produce an even stronger attack. With this thing in her danton, it seemed that it was impossible for her to condense the Pearl of Essence. Then, the only way was to use it as her Pearl of Essence. However, there was a problem in doing so. This thing had its own consciousness and obviously would not completely obey her orders. If she did not control it well, she might even bring disaster upon herself. Right at this moment, Chu Luiyue suddenly felt a strange movement within her body. She hurriedly held her breath and looked towards her danton. She saw that the lake had gradually transformed into a huge water droplet, and on top of that water droplet, a strange picture slowly emerged. It was the picture that had first appeared on Chu Luiyue's palm. At this moment, Chu Luiyue suddenly felt as if she had formed a subtle connection with that water droplet. It was as if this water droplet had become a part of her body. Chu Luiyue's heart skipped a beat as she tried to manipulate a trace of energy within the water droplet. A ripple that was much weaker than before appeared, and at the same time, the force quickly spread to every part of her body. She could clearly feel that because of that subtle connection, she was able to do it much more smoothly this time. She could move it as if it was her own arm. She repeatedly tested it a few times and finally confirmed that this water droplet had now formed a certain connection with her. Right at this moment, a vast and boundless voice, as if it had come from ancient times, reverberated in Chu Luiyue's mind. 3,000 worlds, chaotic heavens, my master shall rise and fall. When Chu Luiyue heard this voice, she was unable to regain her senses for a long time. This sentence was extremely arrogant and conceited. In her previous life, she had met many top experts who had dominated the mainland, but none of them had dared to say such words. The Black Tortoise mainland was vast and boundless with thousands of races. Who could truly stand at the peak? Furthermore, the key point was that he was talking about my lord. Wasn't he talking about her? Isn't this a little too absurd? The sound gradually dissipated, leaving only the huge transparent water droplet floating quietly in Chu Luiyue's dantian. It was as if everything that had just happened was just an illusion. Chu Luiyue wanted to ignore that sentence, but he found that the voice was deeply engraved in his mind and could not be erased. She waited for a while and decided not to think about it anymore. Anyway, since this thing had already recognized her as its master, it probably wouldn't harm her. For the time being, she would just treat it as the pill of essence. Previously, it was in the form of a lake. Now that it had recognized her as its master, it had turned into a water droplet. Chu Luiyue could still clearly remember that when he was repairing his Yuan meridian, an extremely small droplet of water had flown out from the lake and scattered throughout his body with a vast amount of power. The reason why she was able to possess the Daijing Yuan meridian seemed to be due to the effect of the water droplet. And that water droplet only took up less than 1,000th of the water droplet. Right at this moment, a red ripple suddenly appeared on the water droplet. The entire water droplet seemed to be wrapped in a layer of transparent and smooth water film, and the red ripple was engraved on it. No matter how the water droplet flowed slowly, it did not move at all. This looked rather similar to the pill of essence. Generally, as a cultivator's strength increased, the pill of essence in their body would also undergo a corresponding change. For a rank 1 warrior, a pattern would appear on the pill of essence. For a rank 2 warrior, there would be 2, and so on. Chu Luiyue looked at the water droplet and pondered seriously. Actually, other than the shape of this thing being different from the pill of essence, everything else was very similar. Oh, right, it even had its own consciousness. But this was a lot more convenient for her. But why was there only one? Now that she had the pill of essence, according to her current strength, she should be a rank 3 warrior. But why was there only one pattern? Chu Luiyue unwillingly tried to add another one, but the water droplet did not move at all. After looking at the pattern for a while, Chu Luiyue realized that the water droplet felt that her current strength was not enough to add a second pattern. Are you looking down on my current strength? Chu Luiyue asked in disbelief. I should have at least 2, right? What was 1? She was just a rank 1 warrior after all this time? The water droplet did not move. Chu Luiyue felt that she was being despised. She stared at the water droplet for a while, but to no avail. In the end, she could only open her eyes in anger. Your pill of essence is condensed? Rong Xiu noticed the commotion and immediately looked over. With one look, he sensed the aura on Chu Luiyue's body. She was actually a rank 1 warrior. His expression became a little strange as he looked at Chu Luiyue for a while and asked with uncertainty. You sure you don't want to continue breaking through? Her strength was definitely not at this level. Chu Luiwei gritted her teeth. How could she admit that she could not add a second line to her pill of essence? A rank 1 warrior is pretty good. Keep a low profile. Rong Xiu smiled faintly. You turned Tianlu Academy and the entire imperial city upside down, and now you want to keep a low profile? Didn't you say that you wanted to hold a banquet to celebrate? Chu Luiwei snorted. Of course, not only did she want to cut ties with the Chu family, but she also wanted to return the mockery and humiliation 1,000 times over. Rong Xiu looked at her fuming and could not help but laugh. Looks like you is going to treat me to a good show. Translator's note, you is going to treat me to a show. Chapter 79. After a series of twists and turns, she finally broke through and became a true martial artist. Chu Luiwei heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. It was already late at night, and the rain outside had finally stopped. Chu Luiwei looked at the door that she had accidentally broken and began to wonder if it was still necessary to sleep here. Suddenly, Rong Xiu's expression changed slightly, and he looked out the door. The night was dark, and all the undercurrents were hidden. After a moment, he said, "Since the rain has stopped, I'll take my leave first." Chu Luiwei was very surprised. "Didn't your highness say that you want to stay here for the night? Although the rain has stopped, if you go out now, you'll be easily exposed to the wind, right?" Hearing her deliberately teasing him, Rong Xiu couldn't help but smile. "This study room is no longer habitable. Does you want to sleep in the same room as me?" Chu Luiwei snorted softly. She basically pretended not to hear Rong Xiu's teasing. "Your highness is free to come and go, please. I'll come to see you another day," Rong Xiu said and left. Shui looked at Chu Luiwei reluctantly and quickly followed. "Your highness, there's water outside you," Chu Luiwei was about to remind him, but her pupils suddenly shrank. Rong Xiu's feet landed on the water like a feather, and there wasn't the slightest bit of dirt on them. If one looked carefully, they could vaguely see that there was a narrow gap between the bottom of his feet and the water surface. He was actually walking in the air. This was something that only a stage 5 warrior could do. Chu Luiwei looked at this scene and was shocked. Rong Xiu seemed to be only 16 or 17 years old now, but his strength had already reached such an astonishing level. Everyone had probably underestimated this mysterious Prince Li. Chu Luiwei had never underestimated him, but she really didn't expect that he was already a stage 5 warrior. Such talent was considered outstanding even in the Tianling dynasty. While Chu Luiwei was shocked speechless, the figures of the man and the beast had already disappeared into the night. After midnight, Chu Luiwei returned to his bedroom. When she saw the black cloak by the bed, she suddenly came back to her senses. Rong Xiu had actually forgotten to take it away. Chu Luiwei curled his lips in disgust. In the end, he put away the cloak and planned to find time to send it back. Probably because she had experienced too many things today, she quickly fell into a deep sleep after lying down. Rong Xiu left the house and walked along the bluestone path before turning the corner. One person quickly went forward. "Greetings, master." It was Yan Qing. "What happened?" Rong Xiu asked calmly. "Master, Chuan Qiong just sent a message saying that there are strange movements in Jiuyo Tower." Yan Qing wiped the sweat off his forehead and panted. If it wasn't for the urgency of the matter, he wouldn't have dared to contact Master at this time. However, this matter couldn't be delayed. Chuan Qiong was a teacher at Tianlu Academy. Although he had a lot of experience, he usually kept a low profile. Nobody knew that he was actually Rong Xiu's man. Tianlu Academy's status was extraordinary. Even the royal family didn't dare to do anything. Nobody would have thought that Rong Xiu, who was always away, had actually planted a spy in Tianlu Academy. Chuan Qiong had been in the academy for many years, but he had never contacted them. This was the first time. How could Yan Qing dare to delay? He rushed over anxiously. Now, he could only secretly pray that he didn't disturb Master. Rong Xiu nodded, not surprised at all. Just let him continue to monitor. Yan Qing was shocked. "Master, You already guessed it? Jiuyou Tower was extremely important to Tianlu Academy. How could Master have predicted that it would have strange movements today? He even arranged for Chuanqiong? Shui Shui yawned loudly at the side as if it was a little impatient. Rong Xiu glanced at it and suddenly asked, "What's the fourth princess doing here? What has the fourth princess been up to recently?" Yan Qing hurriedly said, "The fourth princess has been asking to go to the hunting grounds. She didn't even hesitate to spend a lot of money. I heard that she even invited many disciples from the aristocratic families in the imperial city, saying that she wants to hunt high-level fiend beasts. The time is set for tomorrow." Rong Xiu nodded lightly and glanced at Shui Shui. "We must let the fourth princess have a good time." Shui Shui licked its paws, and a cold glint flashed in its icy blue eyes. "Master, your cloak." Master always wears a cloak when he goes out. Why is it gone now? Rong Xiu turned around to take a look. The blackish-green roof blurred the outline of the house in the dark night. "You can come and get it tomorrow." A better reading experience came from the Love Network. Chapter 80. The next morning, when Chu Luiwei woke up, she discovered that Chu Ning had already returned and was waiting for her in the main hall with breakfast prepared. She had already told Chu Ning about the change of residence, so Chu Ning knew about this place. "Daddy, why are you back so early? Didn't His Majesty say that he wanted you to stay the night to talk? Did you come back directly after finishing?" Chu Ning looked at her lovingly. "Come and eat. Daddy actually came back in the middle of the night, but I didn't wake you up when I saw that you were already asleep." Chu Liwei sat down beside him, looked at the piping hot breakfast, and couldn't help but tease him. "Daddy is now the commander-in-chief of the Imperial Guards, so this meal is extremely precious." Chu Ning raised his hand as if to pat her head, but he paused and retracted his hand with a long sigh. "To Father, you are the most precious thing. Yesterday was your hairpin ceremony, so I plan to come back immediately after finishing my talk with His Majesty. I didn't expect that I would talk with His Majesty until night, and it rained heavily, so I came back late." Chu Liuyue's heart warmed up. "Daddy already made longevity noodles for you, yesterday. This is already enough." Chu Ning shook his head regretfully. "It's a pity that I couldn't give you a grand hairpin ceremony. Daddy becoming the commander-in-chief of the Imperial Guards is already the best gift. Also, you is already satisfied that Daddy agreed to sever ties with the Chu family." Chu Ning was different from her. He had deep feelings for the Chu family. But when he heard her say this, he only fell silent for a moment before agreeing. "In the past, we were in a difficult situation and leaving the Chu family would only make things worse. But everything is different now, so there's naturally no need to continue staying there." Chu Ning smiled proudly. "But Daddy didn't expect that not only has our Yuan Meridian recovered, but you also have the talent to become a mystic cultivator. Don't worry, Daddy already had the subordinates send out the invitations. At noon, we will celebrate for you, at the guest house." His identity was different now, and his connections had been restored, so it was naturally easy for him to do these things. How many tables do you think we should set up? I had Zhao Ming reserve 10 tables, is that enough?" Chu Liwei held up a bowl of porridge. "Daddy, you can decide. Then 10 tables first. If it's not enough, we'll add more." At this moment, a person wearing the armor of the Imperial Guards walked in. "Greetings, Commander. Zhao Ming, have you finished the discussion at the guest house?" Chu Ning asked with a smile. Zhao Ming looked hesitant. "Commander, the guest house said that they are full today. There is no way to host a banquet?" Chu Ning's smile. "You can change." Zhao Ming's head hung even lower. "Commander, this subordinate has already gone to Spring Prosperity Brothel to ask. They also said that they have no free time today. The most famous restaurants in the capital are all full." Chu Ning had already realized something. Zhao Ming did not dare to speak. In fact, it wasn't just these famous shops that he asked. He had even asked some ordinary restaurants. Initially, they were very polite when they heard that Chu Luiwei wanted to host a banquet. However, when they heard that it was Chu Ning and Chu Luiwei who wanted to host it, They rejected it like they were avoiding snakes and scorpions. Everyone's reaction was similar, as if they had discussed it beforehand. Chu Ning's face turned cold as he clenched his fists. It was obvious that the Chu family was behind this. They were trying to embarrass them on purpose. The Chu family. My poor Minmin. That Chu Luiwei is really vicious. She actually injured you to this extent. Chu Xianmin had been sent back to the Chu family yesterday. Lu Yao almost fainted when she saw her. Even though a night had passed, she was still trembling with anger when she brought up this matter. Chu Xianmin lay on the bed in despair. Her face was as pale as a ghost, and she looked much more haggard. Beside her bed, there were broken mirrors scattered all over the place. Her eyes were unfocused, and she kept mumbling, "My face, my face." As she spoke, she began to cry again. "Mother, my face is ruined. The crown prince won't want me anymore. It's all Chu Liyue's fault. It's all that B***'s fault. She deserves to die." Lu Yao went forward and hugged her, her heart aching as she gritted her teeth. "Minmin, your face will recover. I'll help you. I won't let that Chu Lu wear off." Chu Yen, who had a gloomy face, finally shouted impatiently. "Enough. What's the point of crying? Your face doesn't matter. Your talent was crushed by her. That's the main point." Chu Xianmin shivered, and her tears flowed even harder. She was his daughter after all. Chu Yen felt sorry for her and suppressed the anger in his heart. "Don't worry. I'll avenge you. Whether it's Chu Luiyue or Chu Ning, they won't be able to cause any trouble this time. Weren't they very smug yesterday? They even said they wanted to hold a banquet to celebrate. I want to see which family dares to go against the Chu family. I'll support them. It's not that easy to establish a foothold in the imperial city alone." Chu Xianmin twisted the corner of her shirt unwillingly. But Chu Ning is now the Imperial Guard's commander-in-chief, and Chu Luiyue is a genius. Even if we can't hold a banquet in the future, Lu Yao sneered. It's hard to say if they will have a future. Father, there's no need to ask. These shops in the Imperial City have obviously received some kind of hint. Even if they didn't, they wouldn't go against the Chu family if they knew what was good for them. Chu Luiyue finished his porridge calmly and wiped the corner of his mouth. Chu Ning frowned. They said they wanted to celebrate, but it seemed like they couldn't hold it now. If word got out, they would be laughed at by the people in the Imperial City. What should we do now? Chu Ning didn't want his daughter to suffer any more grievances. If there's no other way, I'll go personally. He was the Imperial Guard's commander-in-chief after all. They couldn't not give him any face. Chu Luiyue pressed on his arm and shook his head. Father, you don't have to show up. Everyone is watching us now. If we do this, they'll think we've lost. Are we just going to let it go like this? No, we have to wait. The banquet isn't important. What's important is the people attending the banquet. Chu Luiyue looked at the sky. There's still 3 hours before the time you set. Let's see who will come this time. Digression, who's coming? Today, mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from the Love Network. Chapter 81. Knock knock knock. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Zhao Ming went to open the door and saw an unfamiliar face. The person who came was dressed like a servant. He had shifty eyes and was unpleasant to look at. You are? That person did not expect Zhao Ming to open the door. Seeing that he was wearing the uniform of the Imperial Guard, he reacted and said in a strange tone, I was wondering who it was. So it's the Imperial Guard. Zhao Ming frowned and felt that this person did not come with good intentions. He pulled a long face and said in a deep voice, if you have something to say, then say it. If not, hurry up and leave. As he spoke, he was about to close the door. Hey, don't be in such a hurry. Of course I have something to say here. That person quickly stepped forward and stopped Zhao Ming. He took the opportunity to look inside the door, as if looking for something. If you don't leave, don't blame me for being rude. As Zhao Ming spoke, he grabbed the servant's wrist and pushed him out fiercely. The manservant staggered and fell to the ground. He grimaced in pain and his anger immediately flared up. Do you know who I am? How can you push me like this? I'm from the Chu clan. When Zhao Ming heard this, he was so angry that he laughed. Wasn't the Chu clan looking for a beating by coming here? This is where Chu Luiyue lives, right? Look at how poor and pedantic you are. But the servant got up and became more arrogant. Didn't you say that you were going to hold a celebration today? TSK, why hasn't anyone come after so long? Don't you think it's deserted? A dog barking, it's not deserted at all. A cold female voice sounded. Chu Luiyue and Chu Ning heard the commotion and came over. Zhao Ming hurriedly said, Commander, miss, this person is here to cause trouble. This subordinate will drive him away. Chu Luiyue raised her hand and looked at the servant with interest. What? Is the Chu clan so useless that you don't even dare to come personally? The servant's face turned red. Who are you calling a dog? Chu Luiyue shrugged. Whoever is calling a dog. The manservant was choked. He rolled his eyes and sneered. Humph, didn't you say yesterday that you were going to hold a banquet to celebrate? Why are the two of you still at home at this hour? Don't tell me, they don't even have a place to hold their banquet? Don't tell me you intend to cook and entertain your guests in this shabby little house? That's not right. I'm afraid no one will come, right? Ha! Chu Ning's face darkened. Looks like you don't want your mouth anymore. The servant shuddered and took a few steps back in fear. It was said that Chu Ning had regained the strength of a rank 5 warrior, and his aura was indeed different. But so what? In this huge imperial city, wasn't there still no one who paid attention to the father and daughter? There wasn't even a restaurant that was willing to host them. He shrugged his shoulders and teased, Oh, Lord Chu Ning is now the commander-in-chief of the Imperial Guards. You won't hold a grudge against a servant like me, right? Besides, I'm here to help you. The first elder asked me to pass a message to you. He said that if you really lack a place to hold your banquet, there's a way. The Chu family has several restaurants. If you're willing, the first elder is willing to let bygones be bygones and let you use the place. As for the money, I'll even give you a discount. What do you think? This was a blatant humiliation. Lord Chu Ning, don't be unhappy. The first elder is also trying to help you. Look, you said yesterday that you were going to hold a banquet. If there's no place today, he patted his face, where will you put your face as the commander-in-chief? Chu Ning was furious. He gathered force in his palm and was about to teach him a lesson. Right at this moment, another person walked over from not far away. May I ask if this is Miss Chu Luiyue's residence? The few of them looked over together. The person who came was a slightly plump middle-aged man. He was smiling and looked very amiable. Chu Luiyue nodded. This is indeed my home. May I know who you are? The man was a little surprised, then he smiled even more eagerly. Sorry. So you're Miss Lu? I'm the shopkeeper of Phoenix Restaurant, Su Hui. As soon as these words were spoken, the people present were all taken aback. Phoenix Restaurant was an old restaurant that had been in the imperial capital for 100 years and was very famous. It was rumored that Phoenix Restaurant had 3 absolutes: the taste, the price, and the scenery. The taste was needless to say. Everyone who had tried it was full of praise. Correspondingly, the price was not something that ordinary people could afford. Even some of the children of aristocratic families might not be able to afford the food here. As for the scenery, it was said that Phoenix Restaurant, from top to bottom, from inside to outside, was very elegant. It could be said to be a sight in the imperial capital. Because of this, Phoenix Restaurant was definitely the #1 restaurant in the imperial capital. Yingbin Restaurant could not compare at all. But why was the shopkeeper of Phoenix Restaurant here? You're here for, I heard that Miss Lu Yu wants to hold a banquet. Does Phoenix Restaurant have the qualifications to host it for you? The surroundings suddenly fell silent. Chu Luiyue blinked. You mean you're willing to host this banquet? Su Hui bowed slightly. We're honored. Chu Luiyue really did not expect that after being rejected by all the other restaurants in the imperial capital, Phoenix Restaurant would actually offer to help them. This time, even Chu Ning was a little uneasy. Shopkeeper Su, is what you said true? But aren't Phoenix Restaurant's banquets usually booked a month in advance? If we go now, there shouldn't be any space, right? Phoenix Restaurant would definitely be filled to the brim. Su Hui smiled. Lord Su Ning, you don't have to worry about this. Phoenix Restaurant has already been cleared today and will only serve Miss Lu Yu. Su Hui's words were like thunder exploding in everyone's ears. They could not calm down for a long time. Chu Luiwei was the first to react. The restaurant was saved by someone? More importantly, who saved it? She did not have any friends or backers in the imperial capital and had offended a lot of people. Who was it that was willing to risk offending the Chu family to help her? To be able to make Phoenix Restaurant act like this, that person must have an extremely strong background and ability. How could they be afraid of the Chu family? Shopkeeper Su, are you sure you want to help them? I heard that a cup of tea costs at least 500 taels of silver. I'm afraid these two won't be able to afford this banquet. Are you sure you want to do this in profitable business? The page boy did not expect the people from Phoenix Restaurant to come. He was shocked, but he refused to admit defeat and forced himself to speak. Upon hearing this, Su Hui didn't even look at him as he smiled at Chu Luiwei. Don't worry, Miss Lu Yu. Someone has already paid for all the expenses today. Second Master Yen. Second Master Yen? Could it be Yen Gu from Zhen Bao Pavilion? You still don't know? A high-level magical beast appeared in the hunting ground you sold to them a few days ago. To express his gratitude, Second Master Yen specially booked Phoenix Restaurant for you to express his gratitude. Today, he will also come to congratulate you. Lord Chu Ning, Miss Lu Yu, please. Digression, today, Mu Yu Yu added more. I'll add more in a few days. Today, let's go to the hot pot. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from AI Network. Chapter 82. Phoenix Restaurant was located on the busiest East Street in the capital. Chu Luiwei and the rest followed Su Hui here. The streets were bustling with people. Su Hui smiled and pointed forward. It's right in front. Chu Luiwei looked in the direction he pointed and saw an antique two-story restaurant. She could vaguely make out the words, Phoenix Restaurant, on the signboard. She was surprised. Every inch of land here was worth gold. Even a small shop's rent was ridiculously expensive. Phoenix Restaurant was the #1 restaurant in the capital, but it only had 2 stories? Chu Luiwei casually looked around. Even the clothing store next to it had 3 stories. In comparison, Phoenix Restaurant was much more low-key. At this moment, the doors of Phoenix Restaurant were tightly shut. There were only 2 servants in front of the door. A few people were standing in front of the door, talking to the servant. Closed? Doesn't Phoenix Restaurant close at the end of the month? Why so suddenly today? The servant said politely, Dear guests, I'm really sorry. This is the manager's order. We can only obey. Please forgive us. You think an apology is enough? I've already told a few of my brothers that we're going to gather here today. You're telling me this now? Where am I supposed to put my face? These people were all dressed like rich young masters. They looked wealthy and respectable. The leader was even more arrogant and looked very angry. Chu Luiwei took a look and realized that the person who spoke looked familiar. Ask your manager to come out. Phoenix Restaurant is not going to give face to my Lu family? Oh, it's him. The Lu family's 4th young master, Lu Jitao. The servant said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. We are indeed not receiving guests today. Please come back another day. Moreover, there are many restaurants in the capital. It's the same if you change places. How is that the same? Lu Jitao raised his voice. Is this how you do business? You're chasing away guests. Do you believe that I, Su Hui, stepped forward? Young master, I'm really sorry. Lu Jitao turned his head to take a look and frowned. Who are you? The 2 servants immediately bowed. Manager. Su Hui nodded. Lu Jitao and the rest looked at each other in shock. They did not expect that this amiable-looking fatty was actually the shopkeeper of the Phoenix Restaurant. Phoenix Loft was very famous, but very few people had seen their manager. Therefore, even though they had come here many times, they still did not recognize Su Hui. So you're the shopkeeper of Phoenix Restaurant? You came at the right time. Did you see what happened just now? No matter what, we are considered regulars of the Phoenix Palace. Is this how you treat us? Lu Jitao's tone was still very aggressive. Someone tugged at him from behind and whispered, "Fourth young master, this Phoenix Restaurant is not ordinary. Let's be polite." Lu Jitao sneered. Isn't it just a restaurant? Could he really ascend to the heavens? My Lu family is also a businessman, but I've never seen anyone chase a customer away so directly. Well, does the #1 restaurant in the imperial capital not care about its customers? His voice was very loud and soon attracted the attention of many people around him. Some people had already started to gather around. There were those who were here to watch the show, and there were also those who were here to watch the show. Lu Jitao became even more confident. Su Hui cupped his fists. The #1 restaurant in the imperial capital, Phoenix Restaurant, really does not deserve the title. But today, someone has already booked the entire Phoenix Restaurant. It is really inconvenient. Please forgive us. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expression changed in unison. Booked the entire restaurant. Booked the entire Phoenix Restaurant. How much money would that cost? Who would be so generous? Lu Jitao's anger dissipated. He knew very well that it was not easy for even his Lu family to book the entire Phoenix Restaurant. That was practically burning money. The person who could do such a thing was not to be trifled with. I see. Why didn't you say so earlier? Lu Jitao and the people behind him exchanged glances. Then we'll come again tomorrow. Su Hui smiled. Sorry, that person has booked the entire restaurant for 3 days. If you really want to come, please wait for 3 days. Digression, mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from the Love Network. Chapter 83. The entire street fell into an eerie silence once again. Almost everyone suspected that they had heard wrongly and stared at Su Hui in disbelief. 3 days? Booked the entire Phoenix Restaurant for 3 days? Is that person crazy? This? Because he was too shocked, Lu Jitao couldn't even speak for a moment. Today is a joyous day for our esteemed guest, so Phoenix Restaurant will not be too calculative about anything. Please make yourselves at home. Su Hui had already turned around after he finished speaking, clearly not intending to continue arguing with them. Usually, even if the head of the Lu family came, he might not be willing to meet them. Today, it was already very rare for him to have the patience to say such things to Lu Jitao. Fourth young master, Phoenix Restaurant is not to be trifled with. Let's leave. Lu Jitao was furious, but with this reminder he sobered up a little. Just as he was about to retreat and leave, he turned his gaze and saw a beautiful young girl standing not far away. She was just standing there quietly, but it was as if everything around her had lost its color. Lu Jitao's eyes lit up. Since when did the imperial city have such a stunning beauty? Sensing Lu Jitao's gaze, Chu Liyue's eyes flickered. Lu Jitao did not attend the crown prince's birthday banquet. During the previous argument, she had concealed her appearance, so it was normal for him not to recognize her now. Oh, which family is this girl from? How come I've never seen her before? As he spoke, he was about to step forward. Su Hui's figure moved and blocked in front of him. The polite smile on his face had disappeared, and his tone carried a hint of warning. This lady is Phoenix Restaurant's esteemed guest today, Miss Lu Yu. What? They want to hold a banquet at Phoenix Restaurant. How is that possible? They can't afford it. Hearing the news from the page boy, the entire Chu family was shocked. They said that Zhenbao Pavilion's second master Yen booked the entire place for her. They said they wanted to thank her for selling the title deed. Chu Yen gnashed his teeth in hatred. Initially, everything was going well. Who knew that Yen Gu would appear out of nowhere? I also heard that high-level fiends have appeared in the hunting ground recently, and the price has increased greatly. The fourth princess brought many people over today. This Chu Liyue is really lucky. Although he lost his engagement with the crown prince by selling a hunting ground, he won the favor of Zhenbao Pavilion. What kind of place is Zhenbao Pavilion? Why would they look at Chu Luiyue differently for such a small hunting ground? I think something is fishy. Now is not the time to talk about this. Let's think about what to do next. Zhenbao Pavilion is supporting Chu Luiyue. The great elder's face was gloomy as he suddenly sneered. This matter isn't that simple. Zhenbao Pavilion had snatched the crown prince's things, and now that a high-level magical beast had appeared in the hunting ground, the crown prince probably viewed Zhenbao Pavilion as a thorn in his side. Going there today is not only going against the Chu family, but also provoking the crown prince. I want to see who will get involved in this mess. When Chu Luiyue entered Phoenix Restaurant, she realized that although there were only 2 floors, the interior was very spacious. Walking in, she realized that other than the main hall in front, there was a ring-shaped building at the back. In the middle of the building was a clear lake. The 9 winding corridors on the lake were all carved from agarwood. The entire Phoenix Restaurant was filled with a faint fragrance that refreshed the mind. Lord Chuning, Miss Luyu, please don't worry. I have already sent someone to change the location of the banquet to Phoenix Restaurant. Both of you just have to wait here. At this point, even Chu Luiyue sighed in her heart. The other party clearly came prepared and arranged everything properly. Chuning couldn't help but say, we have to thank Second Master Yen properly this time. Chu Luiyue nodded. In fact, she also had some things to ask Second Master Yen. At this moment, a voice came from outside. Second Master Yen is here. Speak of the devil. Chu Luiyue and the rest turned around and saw Yengu walking over. They did not expect Yengu to be the first to arrive. With his status, it was already very rare for him to come personally. Yet he came so early. Chu Luiyue suppressed the surprise in her heart. Smiling, she went forward to greet him and was about to bow. Second Master Yen. When Yengu saw this, his heart skipped a beat. He quickly took a step back. You can't. Chu Luiyue looked at him suspiciously. However, she saw that he looked a little nervous and reserved for some reason. He seemed very different from the high-spirited and calm Second Master Yen she had seen before. Second Master Yen, what's wrong? Yengu tried hard to pretend to be calm. His lips curled up unnaturally. No, nothing. Miss Lu Yu getting into Tianlu Academy is a joyous occasion. I'm here specially to congratulate you. Chu Luiyue's eyes curved into crescents. Your congratulatory gift is really too big. Yengu waved his hand. It's nothing, it's nothing. I even brought some gifts. They're already outside the door. Chu Luiyue unintentionally glanced around and saw that there seemed to be quite a number of boxes outside. The corners of her eyes twitched. Was he giving gifts based on boxes? Second Master Yen, you're too polite. Yengu forced a smile. He bought the title deed of his master's wife for only 300,000 taels of silver. If he had known, he would not have courted death. Digression. Today's second watch period, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 84. This is a small gift to show my respect. Please accept it, Miss Lu Yu. Chu Luiyue glanced at the boxes of gifts that were piled up at the entrance and fell silent. A small gift. Did Yengu have some misunderstanding about this term? Or did he think that Zhenbao Pavilion had too much money? However, Chu Luiyue had no choice but to accept it when she saw how Yengu insisted that she accept it or look down on him. Since it's Second Master Yan's kind intentions, Lu Yu will accept it. Yengu heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that she finally agreed to accept it. God knew that when he heard that his master had chosen a gift for Chu Luiyue, his soul was almost scared out of his wits. He could never have imagined that his master's rumored wife was actually the eldest daughter of the Chu family, Chu Luiyue, who had just made a deal with them. That's great. That's great. I really didn't expect Miss Lu Yu to be so talented. You really gave us a fright. This was the truth. Who would have known that Chu Luiyue, who had always been regarded as a good-for-nothing, could actually get into Tianlu Academy and even achieve excellent results? With this talent and this forbearance, it was no wonder that his master, who had never been close to women, would be tempted. Jianghu had interacted with Chu Luiyue during the deal at the hunting ground, so he admired her a lot. Now that he knew that his master liked her, his attitude was naturally better. He looked at Chu Ning and sighed. I heard that Lord Chu Ning has recovered from his old injuries and is now the commander-in-chief of the Imperial Guards. I haven't congratulated you yet. Second Master Yen, you're too polite. Chu Ning went forward and looked at Chu Luiyue lovingly. If it weren't for our he paused and didn't continue speaking. Although you had passed all 3 examinations in Tianlu Academy, the most popular result was that she was second in the Xian Master examination, followed by first in the Warrior examination. As for the Celestial Physician examination, almost no one mentioned it. She didn't take the Celestial Physician examination. Even during the examination, her performance didn't seem to be ideal. She barely passed. Chu Ning originally thought that she would pass the Celestial Physician examination, but now it seemed that she had deliberately concealed this. Although he didn't know the reason, she must have her reasons for doing so. At least, she had kept a trump card. Chu Luiyue smiled and continued. Father, what are you saying? Us father and daughter have depended on each other for so many years. Now we have finally made it. You or has you? Who knows how much good fortune she has? Chu Ning's eyes welled up with tears. Is right. We must have a good celebration. Second Master Yen, please. Inside was naturally referring to the most central area of the place. Yen was that support for Yayu, and their father's support. With Zhenbao Pavilion's status in the Imperial City, it was rare for them to receive such treatment. Yen-gu smiled in response, but his gaze subconsciously drifted to Chu Luiyue. Ha! Lord Chu Ning, Miss Luyu is the host today. Please go ahead. What a joke! How would he dare to walk in front of his master's wife? Chu Luiyue realized that Second Master Yen was a little strange today. However, this wasn't the time to ask. Seeing Yen Ji's insistence, Chu Luiyue didn't force him. Second Master Yen, please go ahead. You can do whatever you want. Yen Gu immediately agreed happily. Chu Luiyue's heart tingled, and she asked in a seemingly casual manner. He asked casually, Second Master Yen, I heard that a high-level fiend appeared in the hunting ground? What level is it? When Yen Gu heard this, he felt a little guilty and coughed. Actually, we only found traces of a high-level fiend in the hunting ground, but we haven't seen what it is exactly. However, its level shouldn't be low. Chu Luiyue nodded. High-level fiends were rare, and this was a serious matter. It was normal that Yen Gu didn't want to talk about it in detail. Chu Ning glanced outside the door. Apart from Yen Ji's men, no one else had come. He couldn't help but say, Second Master Yen, thank you for booking the entire Phoenix restaurant today. I really don't know how to repay you. However, there shouldn't be many people here today. I'm afraid it's a little wasteful. Yen Gu chuckled but didn't say anything. Wasteful? Even that wouldn't be enough. Young Master Si Ting has arrived. The second announcement shocked the few people waiting in Phoenix restaurant. Chu Luiyue looked up and saw a young man in a blue brocade robe walk in. This young man had sharp brows and bright eyes. He was handsome like a sharp sword, and his aura was cold and noble. It was Si Ting. Why is he here? Chu Ning was surprised. As the undisputed #1 family in the capital, the Si family rarely interfered with other families' disputes. Why would they send someone here this time? Furthermore, it was Si Ting, who was the most famous and had the highest status among the younger generation of the Si family. Today's banquet was a battle between the father and daughter and the Chu family. Everyone knew that if they came, it meant that they were on the opposite side of the Chu family. Logically speaking, there was no need for the Si family to get involved in this mess. Even if they had to choose, they would choose the Chu family. But in the blink of an eye, Si Ting had already walked over. He first greeted Chu Ning. Si Ting greets Uncle Chu. Chu Ning hurriedly said, Si Ting, you don't have to be so polite. Si Ting had a faint noble and distant aura, but his expression was calm and his actions were appropriate. It didn't make people feel uncomfortable at all. Master Si asked you to come? Chu Ning asked hesitantly. Si Ting nodded. Master has been busy with work recently and can't come personally, so he asked Si Ting to represent him. Master was very happy when he heard that you had broken through to the 5th stage. He said that he would like to spar with you when he has time. Actually, Si was only a few years older than Chu Ning, and the two of them used to be friends. However, after Chu Ning was injured and Si became the master of the Si family, the two of them rarely interacted with each other. Based on Si Ye's current status, there was really no need for him to come personally. However, the fact that he sent Si Ting, who was the eldest young master, was already very important. This was enough to show the Si family's attitude. Chu Ning sighed in his heart. But, however, I'm here today to represent Master and also to represent myself. As Si Ting spoke, he looked at Chu Luiyue. Miss Chu and I are now under the same Xian Master. It's only right for me to come and congratulate you. The academy was divided into 3 major factions: Warrior, Xian Master, and Celestial Physician. There weren't many Xian Masters, so they were more united and had a better relationship with each other. It was normal for Si Ting to do this. Chu Luiyue smiled. Thank you. Si Ting felt that the girl's smile was as bright as the sun, making it hard for him to look straight at her. His heart skipped a beat, and that strange feeling from before surfaced again. He nodded slightly and instinctively turned his head away. The academy is on holiday, so many people are not in. Si Yang has already gone to call the others. They will be here later. Si Yang, 5th young master of the Si family, O Zhen, 2nd young master of the O family, 4th young mistress of the Sun family, Sun Xiaoxiang, and the daughter of General Zhenan, Wu Yingying. Chu Luiyue looked up and saw a group of young men and women rushing over. The person in front was Si Yang, who looked very excited. Phoenix Restaurant. We must eat until Chu Luiyue is broke this time. But the group cheered loudly. I really didn't expect this. She's actually so powerful. I can't even eat at Phoenix Restaurant once in 3 months. That's right. I came out late last time for the assessment and didn't even see what she was like. Today, I must see what kind of person she is. Our 2nd place Xian Master went to take 1st place Warrior. Don't you think those people are about to die from anger? Ha! Don't fight with me. I'm going to have a drink with her later. The loud laughter immediately livened up the entire Phoenix Restaurant. Si Yang looked up and saw Si Ting. He blinked at him. Big brother, I've called everyone here. There's still more. Si Ting replied with a faint but his hands in his sleeves gradually clenched into fists. Chu Luiyue blinked. Si Ting, did you call them here? Si Ting clenched his jaw. Not really. We're all from the same sect, so it's more lively if we come together. At the side, Jianghu raised his eyebrows. Good lad, is he trying to compete with Master? Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 85. That's right. We're all Xian Masters, so we're on the same side. How can we not support you when you're holding a banquet? Si Yang did not realize that he had sold Si Ting out with one sentence. He jumped in front of Chu Luiyue and clicked his tongue in wonder at Chu Luiyue. But speaking of which, you're really generous. You booked the entire Phoenix Restaurant? That must be a lot of money. Even though he was the 5th young master of the Si family, he could not just come and go as he pleased. Chu Luiyue glanced at Jianghu. Actually, we have to thank 2nd Master Yan from Zhenbao Pavilion for helping us with this. Si Yang and the rest were stunned when they heard Zhenbao Pavilion. They then noticed Jianghu standing at the side. The few of them quickly greeted Jianghu. 2nd Master Yan. Jianghu waved his hand and laughed. Don't stand on ceremony, everyone. Miss Lu Yu is the star today. I'm just here to congratulate you on behalf of Zhenbao Pavilion. Everyone was speechless when they heard this. Who was Zhenbao Pavilion? There were only a handful of people in the entire imperial city who dared to offend them. They heard that they stood all the aristocratic families up last time, but they did not get into any trouble. Congratulating them on behalf of Zhenbao Pavilion? That was easy to say. If word got out, everyone would know that Zhenbao Pavilion wanted to support Chu Luiyue. Si Yang and the rest could not help but steal a few more glances at Chu Luiyue. Everyone used to say that Chu Luiyue was a good-for-nothing, but she got into Tianlu Academy with excellent results. Although she had fallen out with the Chu family, she had Zhenbao Pavilion backing her up in the blink of an eye. Most of the rumors about Chu Luiyue were probably not true. This person? How many trump cards did she have? Si Yang, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and introduce them to us. A youth at the side nudged Si Yang and gave him a look. Only you and Si Ting saw her that day. We were behind and did not make it in time. Come. I'll introduce them one by one. This is Ozhen. Si Yang immediately reacted and introduced them to Chu Luiyue one by one. Just as he finished speaking, a few more young boys and girls came in. Without a doubt, they were all brought here by Si Yang. No, it should be said that Si Ting had invited him. Although these people were Xian masters from the same batch at Tianlu Academy, their identities were not simple. Most of them were descendants of aristocratic families. Although some of them came from outside the imperial capital, they were still people with strong backgrounds. After all, to become a mystic cultivator, one needed a lot of resources and support. Normal families couldn't raise a mystic cultivator. Their presence here more or less represented the wishes of their families. Of course, Chu Luiyue wasn't so naive as to think that they would come to support him just because he was a mystic cultivator. These people were most likely doing it for Si Ting and Si Yang's sake. Especially Si Ting. His attitude was undoubtedly the Si family's attitude. Si Yang had always been a person who liked to go crazy when people were around. He was used to liveliness. Chu Luiyue didn't know these people at first, but with Si Yang around, the atmosphere was good, and everyone quickly became familiar with each other. While Chu Luiyue was surprised by these people's arrival, these people were also very shocked by Yan Ji's arrival. They had come because of Si Ting and the Si family, but who knew that someone would come even earlier? It was the second in charge of Zhenbao Pavilion. No wonder Chu Luiyue had the guts to completely fall out with the Chu family. With Zhenbao Pavilion around, the Chu family had to be wary. The private rooms on the second floor have been arranged. Everyone, please. Su Hui's smile was especially friendly. Si Yang and the rest were a little surprised. The private rooms on the second floor? Aren't they usually closed? Normal people could only stay on the first floor when they came to Phoenix Restaurant. It was rumored that the private rooms on the second floor were extremely expensive, and it was difficult to book one even if one had the money. Usually there is such a rule. However, Miss Lu Yu has booked the entire place today, so everything is naturally not a problem. Everyone is Miss Lu Yu's classmate, so naturally, you should be seated. Su Hui bent over and said with a smile. Si Yang and the rest looked at each other, feeling shocked once again. A private room on the second floor of Phoenix Restaurant. And the manager was leading the way personally. What kind of treatment was this? The group of young boys and girls were after all still young, and most of them had never encountered such a situation before. They could not help but feel excited and followed Su Hui upstairs. Soon, only Si Ting was left on the first floor. Seeing that everyone else had left, Si Ting felt that it was not appropriate for him to stay any longer. He moved his feet and planned to follow them upstairs. Si Ting, thank you so much for today. Chu Luiyue looked at him and said seriously. If Si Ting had not done anything in secret, these people would not have come today. Although she was not worried about this problem, she still had to thank him for his good intentions. Si Ting glanced at her quickly. There seemed to be a glint in her bright black eyes. She seemed to have seen through everything. Si Ting's heart suddenly started to beat faster. He instinctively turned around and hurried up to the second floor. It's nothing. You don't have to thank me. Chu Luiyue looked at his back view and blinked in confusion. Then she could not help but burst out laughing. Who would have thought that the cold and sharp young master of the Si family would be shy? Hearing the laughter behind him, Si Ting paused in his steps and felt his face burning up. At this moment, he suddenly felt that everything about him had been seen clearly by someone. He felt guilty for some reason. Miss Lu Yu, are you satisfied with this arrangement? Yan Gu suddenly asked. Chu Luiyue smiled and held her forehead helplessly. Second Master Yan, Your thank you gift is indeed a little expensive. Even if a high-level fiend appeared in the hunting ground, it would not be able to cover the cost of booking the entire Phoenix restaurant. It's already too expensive for you to book the entire place for 3 days. I didn't expect that you would even persuade manager Su to open up the private room on the second floor. Even if Lu Yu sold you another hunting ground, it would not be enough. Won't the master of Zhenbao Pavilion have any objections to this? Yan Ji's heart thumped as he heard this. My dear mistress, the entire Zhenbao Pavilion is yours. Why are you still saying all this? It seems that master is really slow. This person in front of me clearly has many things that she does not know. He rolled his eyes and grinned. You're treating me like an outsider. Actually, to tell you the truth, all of these arrangements were ordered by the first master. That person? Chu Luiwei was stunned. She had only wanted to test him. She did not expect Yan Gu to admit it directly. But she did not know that mysterious master. Why would he help her so much? She did not believe that it was just because of the hunting ground. I have never met the master of Zhenbao Pavilion. Why? O Xiangtian, the head of the O family, Sun Xia, the head of the Sun family, Jiang Yuan, the Xiangnan governor, Mo Qing. At this moment, the announcement was heard again. Hearing this name, everyone was shocked and looked at the door. Yan Gu glanced from the corner of his eye and indeed saw Si Ting, who was going up the stairs, stop in his tracks. He laughed and said loudly, "The master of Zhenbao Pavilion has ordered you to attend. The first master has ordered that your banquet must be lively." Digression, what time is it tomorrow? Please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 86. Ha! Brother Chuning, congratulations. The men had just entered the Phoenix restaurant, and their laughter had already spread. Chu Ning suppressed the shock in his heart and went forward to welcome them. Brother Xiangtian, why are you here? These people were all people of status. Logically speaking, they shouldn't be here. Brother Chu Ning, you've made a comeback after so many years. Now, you're the Imperial Guard's commander-in-chief. Your beloved daughter just happened to be admitted to Tianlu Academy. Her talent is amazing. Of course, we're here to celebrate. O Xiangtian said as he patted Chu Ning's shoulder. The others nodded as well. Clearly, they had the same reason for coming. The doubt in Chu Ning's heart grew. These people were indeed acquainted with him, but they weren't very close to each other. After all, they were all outstanding people in their respective families. How could they be so close to each other? During his down-and-out years, his family was deserted, and very few people cared about him. Even if he and you were no longer the same as before, these people didn't need to lower their status like this. He couldn't help but glance at Yan Gu. He had also heard the conversation clearly from the side. That Zhenbao Pavilion shopkeeper said that he wanted Yu's banquet to be lively. Other than booking the entire Phoenix restaurant, could it be that he had even invited guests for them? Brother Chu Ning, is this your daughter? O Xiangtian and the others looked at Chu Luiwei. Chu Luiwei greeted them one by one. Like father, like daughter. Brother Chu Ning, you have such an outstanding daughter. I'm so envious of you. O Xiangtian exclaimed. He meant what he said. Who in the Imperial City didn't know that Chu Luiwei was a rare martial warrior and mystic genius? Most importantly, she was extremely talented in both areas. On the first day of school, she took first place in the martial warrior exam and second place in the mystic exam. Who wouldn't be envious? A few years ago, it was rumored that Chu Luiwei was a good-for-nothing, and Chu Ning was in dire straits because of his injuries. Who would have thought that the father and daughter would soar so high? We're not late today, right? Sun Xiao asked. Chu Ning smiled and shook his head. You're just in time. Please. At this moment, hearing the commotion downstairs, the young boys and girls who had already gone upstairs became restless. Why do I seem to have heard my father's name? O Zhen asked blankly. Could it be that I was beaten silly by my father this morning? It's possible. However, I also heard my father's name. Sun Xiaoxiang got up and walked out of the door. She looked down from the corridor. What he saw shocked him. My father is really here. O Zhen, Your father is here too. You heard it right. Zhen's face stiffened. He held his head in pain. No way? Did he chase me all the way here? When I said that I wanted to come this morning, he wouldn't agree no matter what. I had to run out with great difficulty. It's over, it's over. This time, I'm definitely going to be taught a lesson. No. I need to hide first. Zhen got up like a carp and was about to jump out of the window on the other side. Why are you panicking? Wu Yingying grabbed Zhen's collar with a look of disdain. Look at how useless you are. Isn't it just your father? If he wants to find trouble with you, can you hide? Zhen pulled a long face. He really couldn't win against his father. Your father isn't here to find trouble with you. Si Ting, who had just gone upstairs, said calmly. Zhen seemed to have seen a life-saving straw and hurriedly rushed over. Si Ting, you have to help me. If anything happens to me, they're here to congratulate you too. Si Ting's words successfully silenced them. Their faces were filled with disbelief. How is that possible? When I said that this morning, my father said that I was stupid. Zhen mumbled. Sun Xiaoxiang exclaimed softly. They really came upstairs. They even have smiles on their faces. The few of them rushed forward and looked over. The few people downstairs were walking upstairs, chatting happily with Chu Ning and his daughter. At this moment, Xiangtian looked up and saw Zhen. The father and son looked at each other. Zhen slipped and was about to slip away. Brothers, I'll go first. Zhen. So you're already here. Zhen knew that he couldn't hide, so he could only smile stiffly. Father. Seriously, child. Don't you know to wait for me? Did you come empty-handed without even preparing a gift? Zhen, who was waiting to be scolded, was speechless. But I've already brought the gift. Next time, you can't be so careless, okay? Zhen widened his eyes. Who said this morning that it was not appropriate to offend the Chu family now? Who stopped him? Who said that he was stupid? Sun Xia tried to persuade him. Brother Xiangtian, don't be angry. The children only want to join in the fun. Why would they think about this? Our Xiaoxiang didn't bring anything either, right? As elders, we have to worry so much. Sun Xiaoxiang, who was innocently implicated, was speechless. Your private room is just next door, please. Su Hui was smart. He arranged for Sun Xiangtian and the others' private room to be further away from Zhen and the others. Si Yang secretly gave Su Hui a thumbs up. After those people left, the group of young people still couldn't react for a long time. They're here from Master Chu Ning, right? Si Ting stood behind them and quietly looked down at the young girl downstairs. She was slender and had a head of black hair. She was quiet and calm. He knew that Xiangtian and the others weren't here for Chu Ning. They were here for her. It was as if an invisible hand had shielded the entire capital from the wind and rain, holding up the sky for her. Who was that person? Digression. Today's update will be updated from time to time. Please check your mobile phone users. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 87. Time trickled by, and there was an endless stream of people coming to Phoenix Restaurant. Many of the noble families in the capital city had sent people. The originally quiet Phoenix Restaurant quickly became lively. Everyone exchanged pleasantries with Chu Ning, but their gazes could not help but turn to Chu Luiyue. Some were curious, some were puzzled, and some were slightly fearful. To be able to make second Master Yen of Zhenbao Pavilion so attentive, this girl's identity was definitely not ordinary. At least, with Zhenbao Pavilion backing her up, almost no one in the capital city would dare to provoke her openly. No wonder she dared to offend the crown prince and the Chu family so brazenly. With such a backing, it was not surprising. Of course, Chu Luiyue also noticed their gazes. She looked calm on the surface, but in fact, she was even more puzzled. Who exactly was the head shopkeeper of Zhenbao Pavilion? Why did he help her, and what did he have that made these people so fearful? These people coming to Phoenix Restaurant today would inevitably offend the crown prince and the Chu family, but they still came. After all this was over, She would have to investigate properly. Chu Liwei suppressed these thoughts and followed Chu Ning to greet everyone. Yan Ge was also at the side, greeting everyone one by one. He looked even more attentive than the father and daughter. Although Chu Ning had been in the limelight for a while, he had been quiet for many years. Now that he had suddenly recovered, he still felt a little awkward. As the second in charge of Zhenbao Pavilion, Yan Ge was best at interpersonal relationships. With him around, Chu Liwei and Chu Ning felt much more relaxed. Seeing this scene, some people could not help but whisper. Second Master Yan has always been a respectable person. Even the princes and princesses have to give him some face. When have I ever seen him treat someone like this? Exactly. I heard that Zhenbao Pavilion was coming this morning, but I did not think much of it. I just thought that Chu Ning had spent a lot of effort to invite them. Who would have thought that it was obviously Second Master Yan who rushed over? Sigh, don't you think that Second Master Yan seems to value Chu Liwei a lot? Even a little cautious? Chu Liwei would occasionally say a few words, and he would treat them especially seriously. Could it be that Second Master Yan has taken a liking to this person? Shoo, be careful of what you say. You guys are late so you don't know. Just now, Second Master Yan said it himself. This is their big master's order. Strange, doesn't he already have a wife? Who knows what methods Chu Liwei used? Anyway, with Zhenbao Pavilion, the Crown Prince and the Chu family wouldn't dare to do anything to her for the time being. In the future, I'm afraid there will be more good shows. Are you telling the truth? Oh, Xiangtian and the others are there? In the Lu family, everyone was shocked after hearing Lu Jitao's words. It can't be any more real. I originally thought that since Chu Liwei had offended the Crown Prince and the Chu family, even if he booked the entire Phoenix restaurant, no one would go. Who knew that not long after, more and more people would arrive? Especially since there were many people with high statuses among them. Didn't I come back immediately? Lu Jitao's heart trembled as he recalled those famous names. Even if it was a banquet for the princes and princesses, there might not be so many people attending. Everyone in the Lu family was silent. Lu Fian listened by the side and was disdainful. So what? No matter how powerful the O family is, they are still far from us. Apart from the royal family, aren't the 4 aristocratic families the most powerful in the capital? Other than Si Ting and Si Yang who went, the other 3 families didn't do anything. It's a waste for those people to go. The head of the Lu family, Lu Ming, pulled a long face. Stupid. Individually, they can't compare to the 4 aristocratic families. But together, they can't be ignored. On account of Chu Ning's promotion to the commander-in-chief of the Imperial Guards, it's not enough for so many of them to go personally. There must be something fishy going on. Lu Fian was unhappy to be reprimanded. But seeing Lu Ming's ugly expression, she didn't dare to rebut. I don't care if others go or not. Anyway, I'm not going. That Chu Liwei ruined Minmin's face out of jealousy. If I go, she might ruin my face too. Lu Jitao, who was listening by the side, couldn't help but snort. Sister, I don't agree with this. Minmin is pretty, but Chu Liwei is much prettier than her. How can she be jealous? I think Minmin must have done something to offend her. That's why she got herself into trouble. Fourth brother, what do you mean? Don't tell me you like that slut? Lu Fian widened her eyes and scolded angrily. Lu Jitao sneered secretly. Lu Fian often acted like a tyrant at home because she had been admitted to Tian Lu Academy. She acted as if she couldn't offend anyone. He couldn't stand it. Am I not telling the truth? Besides, Chu Liwei is now a genius that everyone envies. She has a commander-in-chief of the Imperial Guards as her father. I'm afraid there are many people who want to marry her. Minmin's reputation and face have been ruined. The Crown Prince won't be nice to her in the future. Sister, I advise you to stay away from her. You, enough. Shut up. Lu Ming shouted sternly. Today, all of you stay at home obediently. You're not allowed to go anywhere. I'm going to the Crown Prince's mansion. It wasn't easy for them to build a good relationship with the Crown Prince. At such a time, they had to show their loyalty to the Crown Prince. No matter how powerful Zhenbao Pavilion was, they couldn't interfere with the imperial court. In country Yaoqin, the person who could sit on the throne had the final say. Mobile users, please browse for a better reading experience from Love Network. Chapter 88. Unlike the liveliness at Phoenix Restaurant, the atmosphere in Crown Prince Mansion today was exceptionally cold. Everyone in Crown Prince Mansion knew that the Crown Prince had been in a bad mood ever since Tianlu Academy's midterm examination ended. Everyone in the mansion was on tenterhooks, afraid that they would do something wrong and incur the Crown Prince's wrath. As usual, Rong Jin sat in the study and read the booklets. However, he was in a bad mood and could not read a single word. A beautiful girl's face kept appearing in his mind, and he could not get it out of his mind. 5 minutes passed, and he read the booklets but did not approve a single word. In the end, he could only put the booklets down in frustration and rub his brows. Song Yuan, how's the Chu family doing? Song Yuan, who was carefully serving outside, heard the voice and bowed respectfully. Your Highness, Third Missy Chu is recuperating in bed. She doesn't seem to be doing well. Rong Jin looked up and glanced at him. But he threw the booklets in his hands on the table, and his voice became colder. You know what I'm asking. Song Yuan's body trembled, and he hurriedly knelt on the floor. Your Highness, the Chu family sent news overnight. There are almost no restaurants in the imperial city that are willing to accept their banquet. Rong Jin closed his eyes, and he finally felt better. So what if Chu Luiyue was a double genius? Without the support of her family background, she was isolated and helpless. She would know the consequences of going against him. When she was at her wit's end, she would definitely regret breaking off the engagement with him. I have a restaurant under my name. Send someone to tell her that if she's willing to beg for mercy, I can give her a way out and help her this once. Song Yuan did not move, but his expression became awkward. Your Highness, this Chu Luiyue's banquet has already been booked by a restaurant. Rong Jin froze. Zhenbao Pavilion booked the entire Phoenix restaurant to celebrate Chu Luiyue's. Voila! Rong Jin swept everything on the table to the floor, and his face was terrifyingly cold. Song Yuan did not dare to raise his head. He was also shocked when he received the news, but that was not the most shocking thing. Besides, Your Highness, rumors are spreading in the imperial city because of this incident. They say that Chu Luiyue has already found Zhenbao Pavilion to back her up, and many people have already gone to Phoenix Restaurant on account of Zhenbao Pavilion. A wave of pressure suddenly descended. Song Yuan did not dare to resist. His chest trembled as he was sent flying, crashing heavily onto the ground. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, but he immediately got up and knelt. Your Highness, please calm down. Rong Jin clenched his fists tightly, and the anger in his heart almost burned him to ashes. Appease my anger? How could he not be angry? He had finally broken off his engagement with Chu Luiyue with great difficulty and had even endured the scolding of his imperial father. But what about Chu Luiyue? He had become a genius in the blink of an eye. They even celebrated. It was as if she was afraid that others would not know that she had been admitted to Tianlu Academy. She was clearly provoking him and the Chu family. The more glamorous she was now, the more he and the Chu family would be mocked. I was wondering where she got her guts from. It turned out that she had already hooked up with Zhenbao Pavilion. Rong Jin's brows were tightly knitted as he paced back and forth. Finally, he coldly said, immediately send someone to investigate Zhenbao Pavilion's background. Your Highness. Song Yuan looked up in shock and hurriedly tried to dissuade him. Your Highness, please reconsider. Zhenbao Pavilion has a mysterious background and shocking wealth. It's not easy to provoke them. You also know that there were people who secretly investigated Zhenbao Pavilion before, but they all returned empty-handed. There's really no need for you to cause trouble for yourself over this matter. How could Rong Jin not know that even his imperial father was secretive about Zhenbao Pavilion? Otherwise, he would never have given up on the hunting ground incident so easily. However, if he tolerated it once or twice, it would only happen more often in the future. Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. Chapter 89. The people in the imperial capital knew how to read the situation. When Ou Xiangtian and the others found out that Zhenbao Pavilion had booked Phoenix Restaurant for Chu Luiyue, they immediately changed their attitude and rushed over. When news of their arrival spread, many people who were originally neutral changed sides and came one after another. The Crown Prince and the Chu family were not to be trifled with, but Zhenbao Pavilion was even more so. Previously, the Crown Prince had suffered at Zhenbao Pavilion's hands but didn't do anything about it. As such, groups of people began to rush over from all over the imperial capital. By noon, the huge Phoenix restaurant was already full. Manager, the private rooms on the second floor are all full. The main hall on the first floor is also full. However, there are still a dozen guests outside who haven't taken their seats. The servants of Phoenix Restaurant were all so busy that their feet barely touched the ground. Although business was usually good, the second floor was rarely open to the public, so it wasn't this exaggerated. However, now that Chu Luiyue had booked the entire restaurant, the first and second floors were all full. It still wasn't enough. Su Hui also had a headache. He looked apologetically at Chu Ning and the others. Lord Chu Ning, Miss Lu Yu, Second Master Yen, what do you think we should do? Phoenix Restaurant was an extremely high-end and elegant place. When had so many people ever come? Chu Ning was also worried. Everyone who comes is a guest. Moreover, their status is not ordinary. It won't be good if we neglect them. Manager Su, are there really no more seats? Su Hui sighed helplessly and smiled. Lord Chu Ning, there really are no more seats. We can't let the guests sit in the corridor in the middle of the lake, right? For a moment, everyone fell silent. Chu Luiyue looked at Jianghu. Second Master Yen, you've invited too many people. Miss Lu Yu, don't misunderstand. Zhenbao Pavilion didn't invite those who came later. Jianghu hurriedly waved his hands. Those who could be invited by him were all people of status. Among the people who came later, there were many whom he didn't think highly of. However, they came and they even had invitations. Lord Chu Ning, you've sent out too many invitations. Chu Ning coughed and clenched his fists. At first, I thought that no one would come, so I sent out more. At that time, he thought that everyone would come, but who would have thought that almost everyone would come? This time, the venue was actually not enough. Chu Luiyue naturally knew what he was thinking. For a moment, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She pondered for a moment and suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Lord Zhao, may I trouble you to make a trip? Zhao Ming, who was standing at the side, immediately said, Miss Lu Yu, what are your orders? Chu Luiyue took out an invitation card and handed it to him. Lord Zhao, please deliver this invitation card to the Chu clan. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of everyone present changed slightly. What are you planning to do? Chu Ning frowned. Today was a great day, so he didn't want to have anything to do with the Chu family. Zhao Ming hesitantly took the invitation. Miss Lu Yu, are you sure you want to do this? Chu Luiyue nodded. Miss Lu Yu, the space in Phoenix Restaurant is already insufficient. Why are you still sending out invitations? And to the Chu clan? Jianghu couldn't understand her thoughts and couldn't help but ask. Chu Luiyue looked at the disapproving Chu Ning and smiled. Father, do you still remember the servant sent by the Chu clan this morning? Of course I remember. But why mention him? When they returned to Phoenix Restaurant with Su, they had already sent that servant away. Have you forgotten? He said that if we don't have a place to hold the banquet, we can ask them for help. Doesn't the Chu clan have a few restaurants? Chu Ning slowly widened his eyes. You mean? Chu Luiyue tapped on the invitation card and curved her red lips. Their restaurant is not good enough. Naturally, we can't let our distinguished guests suffer there. However, we can let their people bring tables and chairs over. On the street outside the Phoenix Restaurant, there are still quite a few tables. As for the tea, wine, and food, Phoenix Restaurant will still provide them. At the same time, their people can also stay behind to help out, so that we don't have a shortage of people. Isn't it killing many birds with one stone? Zhao Ming asked in a daze. Is this okay? Why can't it be okay? Didn't they say that they can give us a discount on account of our past relationship? Chu Liwei smiled. Chu Liwei, can still afford this amount of money. His words left them dumbfounded, and it took them a while to react. Yengu couldn't help but give her a thumbs up. Miss Luyu, you're really amazing. This was no longer a slap to the face. This was simply tearing down the Chu clan's face and trampling it on the ground. If this invitation card was sent to the Chu clan, they would probably vomit blood from anger. As expected of the person favored by the master, her methods were truly admirable. Chu Liwei urged, Lord Zhao, I'll have to trouble you. Alright. This subordinate will go right away. Zhao Ming grinned and immediately headed to the Chu clan with the invitation card. Su Hui came back to his senses and cupped his hands. Ms. Liwei, you're really smart. Shopkeeper Su is too kind. I hope you won't find us troublesome. How could I? Su Hui shook his head and sighed in his heart. The Chu clan must have had the misfortune of 8 lifetimes to have offended such a person. They originally thought that they could use the Chu clan's power to teach her a lesson, but who knew that they would kick an iron plate? The Chu clan was afraid that they would become the capital's laughingstock again. Chu Liwei glanced outside the door. She rested her chin on her hand and tapped her chin. I remember that the Crown Prince also has a restaurant under his name, right? You can find a better reading experience from the Love Network. Chapter 90. Tell him to get lost. First Elder tore the invitation to shreds, his body trembling in anger. Tell him to tell Chu Liwei that since they have cut ties with the Chu family, they have nothing to do with us in the future. Yes. The page boy saw that First Elder was unusually angry and did not dare to stay. He hurriedly retreated. The other people in the hall also looked very upset. Who sent that person this morning? First Elder asked angrily. No one spoke. First Elder slammed the table hard, and the corner of the table immediately broke into pieces. Chu Yen shrank back, but he still took a step forward and said softly, I only wanted to humiliate them. Who knew? Who knew? Humiliate? Why don't you open your eyes and take a look? Who is humiliating who now? If this gets out, the Chu family will lose all face. It's all your fault for acting on your own. Chu Yen felt very aggrieved. At that time, it wasn't as if the First Elder didn't know about this. Wasn't he very supportive of it at that time? Now that the situation had taken a turn for the worse, he turned hostile as if it was all his fault? No one knew that she would do such a thing. First Elder's face was terrifyingly gloomy. This was not the most important thing. The most troublesome thing now was that half of the Imperial City's reputable people had already gone to Phoenix Restaurant. No matter what the reason was, the outcome was already set. From now on, Chu Ning and Chu Liwei would definitely gain a foothold in the Imperial City. First Elder, I heard that the Lu family head has already gone to Crown Prince Mansion. What do you think should we do now? Someone asked. First Elder took a deep breath. Because of Chu Liwei and Chu Xianmin, the Crown Prince was currently in a fit of anger. He would definitely not be nice to the Chu family. They originally thought that they could use Chu Xianmin to build a relationship with the Crown Prince. Who knew that things would turn out like this? However, they could not lose the Crown Prince Mansion's support now. I'll go there personally. The Chu family's rejection was within Chu Liu's expectations. She calmly asked Su Hui to send people to ask for help from other restaurants. At the same time, she didn't forget to send an invitation to the Crown Prince's residence. Chu Liwei didn't care if Rong Jin came or not. However, she was more than happy to cause trouble for the other party. Unlike the previous repeated rejections, this time, many restaurants immediately expressed their agreement. Their attitude was poles apart from that of the morning. On the street outside the Phoenix restaurant, tables after tables of banquets were set up, taking up almost half of the street. Heads were moving, and the aroma of wine assailed their nostrils. It was truly bustling. The focus of everyone's discussion was naturally related to Chu Ning and Chu Liwei. Who would have thought that the father and daughter who had once been bullied and humiliated would actually be able to enjoy such glory today? 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. As Chu Ning listened to the countless congratulatory words, he felt rather emotional. Only he knew that all of this was because of you. Brother Chu Ning, if I remember correctly, Lu Yu is already of marriageable age. Now that she's free and you've just been promoted, have you considered which family's talents? Yeah. Your daughter is so outstanding. Many people in the imperial city have their eyes on her. Brother Chu Ning, what do you think of my son? And my nephew? My nephew is also a student of Tianlu Academy. They definitely have a lot to talk about when they're together. Chu Ning broke out in a cold sweat. After experiencing the Crown Prince's incident, he was more guarded in his heart. For the time being, he didn't want to get engaged so early. Everyone my is still young. Now, Prince Li has arrived. This voice interrupted Chu Ning's words and attracted everyone's attention. Countless pairs of eyes looked over simultaneously. Prince Li. After that person returned to the imperial city, he didn't see many guests. As a result, most people didn't know what he looked like. Why did he come to such an occasion today? Digression, today at 5 p.m. tomorrow at what time? Mobile users, please browse and read. A better reading experience comes from Love Network. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.